Welcome to the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, the show that puts the spotlight on the incredible women who fuel the world of motorsports. From drivers to crew members, engineers to fans, and everyone in between, we're here to celebrate the trailblazers, dreamers, and doers shaping the sport we love. Each episode, we share inspiring stories of females of all ages from every corner of the motorsports universe, past, present, and future. It's a journey through the seasons of life filled with heartfelt moments, laughter, and a whole lot of horsepower. So whether you're a lifelong fan, a racer yourself, or simply curious about the extraordinary women behind the wheel, settle in, relax, and enjoy a fun and uplifting ride with us. This is the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, connecting and celebrating women in motorsports, one story at a time. Let's hit the track. Hello, everyone. This is Melinda Russell with the Women's Motorsports Network podcast. And my guest tonight is Cheyenne Fantuzzo. Hopefully, I said your last name right, Cheyenne. And I want to welcome you to the show. And if you would, why don't you start by telling us just a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am 26 years old and I live in Brookshire, Texas, and I don't have any pets. And anyways, I was born in Corpus Christi, Texas, and it's still my hometown to this day. My dad and I, from time to time, we go down there every other weekend or possible. And then I went to school. I went to Westview School. I think I was 2 years old, and then 2 years old, and then at Westview, and then I finished up, and then I graduated from Westview Middle School until 2014, and then I went from there to Launch Academy, which is a special needs school for special needs students. And I have autism. I am autistic, and so I I and so I went to high school until 2018. Then I graduated in 2018, and then after that, in the next year, I started working at Dollar Tree in Sealy, Texas, and I worked there for approximately 6 years. And last year, I I currently I had to quit that job for some reasons or something like that. But I have a new job, which is in my dad's oil field business, selling used oil field surplus equipment in his yard.
Oh, awesome. So you're doing all kinds of interesting things. So, Cheyenne, how did you get started in motorsports? Who introduced you to racing?
Well, my dad introduced me to racing when I was 10 years old. And again, my dad used to race drag racing. I think it was in the super stock or super street class back in the 50s and 60s, right around there. I'm not
Okay.
sure. Right around that era. And so from there, he did drag racing, and then he did go-kart racing. Quick fact about him. In the Super Nationals, SCUSA Super Nationals back in somewhere then around the 1990s, early 2000s, he placed third place in the Superkarts USA Championship. He actually got
Wow.
third, finished third in the championship. And
Very
so
cool.
also, yeah, very cool. And so anyways, and then he introduced me to go-kart racing. We went to a go-kart rental track called Fun Trackers in Corpus Christi, and it took a little convincing at first, with me being shy of go-karts. But my dad, it took 2 times to really get to it. and after that, he forced me on there, and he said, "You're gutting on them go-karts," and I'm like, "All right, I'll get on them go-karts," and so I did, and it just took one drive, and it just
You loved it. You just fell in love with it.
yes.
Yeah, you just fell in love with it. And so are you still racing in the go-karts or what are you racing?
Yes, I still race in the go-karts, but not on my own go-kart no more, since it just the rules and regulations have been so iffy. We bought we bought a engine from Italian Motors USA back in 2017, and then during that time frame, 2017 to 2021, we ran it, and then every like 6 months they kept on changing the rules, and then they eventually outlawed my tag engine. And so from there on, we sold the go-kart and got into Bandolero racing, which I did a Google search on. And
Okay.
so I asked my dad, I need to get into how how about I could try this racing? And my dad said, "Well, Shine, I don't know nothing about them cars." Yada yada
Mhm.
yada. And so anyways, it took him again. So we bought a Bandolero in 2019, and then in June, and by about the mid June era, in mid June of 2019, I entered my first ever Bandolero race at Texas Motor Speedway. And the first race, it didn't go so well because my receiver, which race control talks all to the drivers, it quit working. And so we had to unfortunately go home. But then my second race of Bandoleros, actually won my first Bandolero race.
Well, that's awesome. Were you super excited?
I was
Yeah,
stoked.
I
Stoked.
bet you were. And your dad was too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very cool. Cheyenne, what's your favorite thing about being involved in motorsports?
My favorite thing is in being involved in motorsports is to never give up and to keep pushing until you reach your intentions or goals. And also, it's just it's all about having hashtag fun with cars.
Yes, you're right. When it stops being fun, then you need to stop racing. But as long as
Yeah.
you're having fun, just keep going for sure. So, what color is your car?
Well, my current car, we sold the Bandolero, and then we got into sports car racing. So my color is dark green, number 31. I raced a 2000 Spec Mazda Miata called Spec Miata.
Uh huh. Yeah. And do you travel around or do you go to the same track pretty much all the time?
Right now, I'm entering my third year in Spec Miata. So as of right now, we are just staying here locally. I have a track called MSR Houston in Angleton, Texas.
Okay. All right. And about how many cars are in your class when you go to race there?
It
About how
can Yes, it can vary between, I say, 19 to about 30 cars.
wow, that's a lot. Yeah. And what do you love about driving that more than maybe say the Bandolero or the go-kart? What do you love about driving this car?
This car, the what I love about driving this car is it's a handful to drive. It took me, like, this is my third year in Spec Miata, and it took me 3 years at one track to fully um get used to the car and be more confident in the car, since it's
Okay.
a suspension work and the feeling of the car.
Yeah.
It takes me a long time, but
Well,
I
it
did.
does take time. It takes everybody time to learn their car. So you're not any different than anybody else.
No.
No. So, do you help work on the car or does your dad do most of that?
Well, we actually have a mechanic that does all the work on my car. His name is Louis Rivera, and he only
Okay.
lives 8 miles from the racetrack. So he just he does all the heavy wrenching.
Okay. That's good. Just let him keep doing that for sure. So
Yes, but
what's been your biggest challenge
my
to
biggest
driving
challenge,
this car?
oh, there's a lot of things. It is driving on the limit. It
Okay. What
took
does
me.
that mean?
So, driving on the limit means that you gotta drive on the edge until it spins out on the very edge until
Okay.
you on the verge of spinning out. And that took me a lot of time and a lot of tires too to go through that, because when you spin out when you spin out, it's called flat spotting the tires, which that is these
Yeah.
tires are so fine, that if you spin out and you create a lot of smoke, it's done. It gets rid of all the
Yeah.
good rubber.
All the tread's gone.
Yes.
All the tread's gone. Yeah, for sure. So, when you go to the track, what does your day look like? Like you get up in the morning and you have breakfast and you load everything up and then you go to the track, which, how far away is the track from where you live?
It's about a good 70 miles, but we do have a garage down there that we share with my trainer and driving coach named Jim Godfrey. And when we first started going there back like 3 years ago, Jim came up to us and asked us if we would like to share the garage, and I said yeah, and my dad said perfectly fine, yes. And so now we just drive there on our personal vehicle, and we drive down there just all we do is just open up the garage door, check tire pressures, check the torque the lug nuts on the race car, and then check the oil, check the fluids, and then if it's really hot outside, like here, always here in Texas, we we uh we fill up our cool shirt system, our cool shirt ice chest,
Hmm.
uh, and then start up and go.
Start up and go, and away you go. So, what's been how have you done in the 3 years? Have you won any races or have you had anything exciting happen? What's happened in the last 3 years?
Well, when I entered my first race in Spec Miata, there was about, I'd say, I think 20 cars, 23 cars. And so my first race was kind of good. I finished around, I can't remember exactly what position I finished in. Let's say about seventh or eighth no, wait a minute. It's first race seventh
Okay.
out of that. And then my most exciting moment in Spec Miata racing was this last year. I've got invited to in December 3rd. I got invited to an Australian style race that by Apex Auto Works in Alvin, Texas, that they put on. And what it is, just a quick summary, they do, guys from Australia, they come up here to MSR Houston, then they put on an event, and then I I actually we are a mixture of fast cars and then the slow cars. And so I actually technically won my first sports car race because we did what's called the chase. Well, there was 3 of us. There was this old pickup truck and me, and behind me there was this Ford Mustang, a newer generation Mustang behind me. And so we would start off from pit road, and then the first place, and then the truck, he went and he got off to about half track, and then he would let me out. And so it's called the chase, because if you run down the car in front of you and pass them cleanly, you win the race. So I did that.
Okay.
2 laps later, I win.
That's awesome. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yes,
Was that
sure.
fun? Yeah. Sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah.
Loved every
So
minute.
go ahead.
Yes, I loved every minute of it. And then also when I get inside the car, all of my like personality, especially with autism being a unique ability to race.
Mm-hmm.
Autism is an ability, not a disability.
Yes, you
Because
are so right.
you look unique, and there's this other sports car racer. He has autism. His name is Austin Riley,
Uh-huh.
and I check him from time to time, and he's looking good. And so, anyways, when I climb into the car, everything just shifts from being a girl to professional, like in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so cool. So Cheyenne, I'm going to share a little story with you. I have 16 grandchildren, and one of my youngest grandchildren, my grandson that lives in Arizona, has autism. He's 4 years old. And so when my daughter found out that he had autism, she tried to find a school for him to go to, because he wasn't communicating, he wasn't talking. And he was about 2 years old. So she found a school and she took him to school and drove him, and she has 3 other kids. And so she was just driving all over the place, taking kids to school and picking them up. And she wasn't real happy with the school. So her husband used to be involved in a company that ran drug and alcohol centers where people who had drug and alcohol problems would go to get help. So he kind of had a knowledge of the medical field and insurance and all of that. And so they decided they were going to open up a school for kids with autism. And so they opened up their first location. It'll be 3 years in May. And Huxton, their little boy, was the first student at their school. And
Cool.
yeah, and so they started the school, and now in less than 3 years they're going to be opening their 4th location. So I've learned a lot about autism, and my grandson is doing amazing. He goes to a regular preschool with kids, not an autism school. He graduated from the autism school. It's called the Phoenix Autism Center. And
Congratulations.
I know. And so I understand that, yes, your brain works differently at times, but to be able to race and do what you've done is amazing. And I am so proud of you. And I follow you, I follow what you do. And it's just so fun to watch what you're doing and how you've overcome. Like you say, it's a special ability. It's not a disability, right?
Right.
Right. My little Huxton is so smart. And I think that's where you're coming from too. You're very smart, and that's why you've picked up on um, the racing for sure. So, are there very many girls that race in your class in the Miatas?
I have mainly men. That is just that is that is the as old as young. The youngest driver in Spec Miata is around, I'd say, 21 years old, and the oldest driver there, it can be around 60 or 70 years old. So I'm racing with all men, but there is one girl that races in it from time to time, but mainly it's all men.
Okay.
And then
So you have
also Melinda, I don't know if you know this about me, is I'm actually my height is 5'1".
I knew
So
you
I'm
weren't very tall. You're Do you have to sit on some pillows or something in the car so you can see out the windshield?
Yes, I what I did was I had to put a seat pad underneath my seat cover and then another seat pad to scoop me forward to reach
Mhm.
the pedal.
Yeah. So you've overcome several things in order to be a good race car driver.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yeah, for sure. So, do you think that racing is a good sport for girls to be involved in?
Yes, it sure is because women can do all things just as good or if not better than men. And because number one, like in drag racing, Erica Enders and Julie Natas and Top Alcohol Dragster and Pro Stock, they have quicker reflexes than men. And also in sports car racing, I just watched a race on IMSA at Daytona in the MX5 Cup car, and Sally
Mhm.
Mott and Speed, they did good.
Yeah. So
And
I interviewed Sally Mott not too long ago. So if you go to my YouTube page, you should be able to find the interview I did with her.
all right, I'll go check it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, I'm excited that she's driving and doing that for sure. Yeah. So if a little girl came up to you and or her mother said, why should my daughter get involved in motorsports? What would you say to them?
Well, the I would say to him, never don't don't let things get in the way of you if you want to try something different because I have grandkids and they were a little shy at first getting on a go-kart. We have a yard cart and let's say if I say to that person, well, if you I'm a good role model to women in motorsports because it will
Hmm.
because it shows them that I'm that nothing can stop you in the can stop you for whatever you want to do.
Yeah, that's right. And don't let anything stop you, no
Exactly.
matter what. Yeah, for sure.
And
So,
also women women on the other hand is that a girl can can achieve all things.
hmm, yeah, you're right. You're right for sure. Is there somebody that you've kind of looked up to that races or that's really helped you a lot to get where you are in racing?
Yes, I have several. Well, number one who introduced me into sports car racing, his name is James Huff, and then we sat down at a restaurant dinner table and we discussed. things, and from there James had a Allison Legacy car converted into a sports car, and so we bought that from him, and and I and I did not enter any races in that. I So in 2 years, I took that like 2 years to involve to drive that Allison Legacy car, and it was fun to drive. And and Jim Godfrey raced. He's retired now. He retired last year, and, and Jim Godfrey was my dad's best racing friend, and my dad uh was a mechanic on Jim's go-kart. And from there, Jim Godfrey, uh he has patience. And he has patience, and he me. And then if it wasn't for James Huff, Jim Godfrey, my dad, I wouldn't be in this position where I am today right now.
Yeah. But they saw something in you and they wanted you to have the chance to try racing and look at all the things you've accomplished. You've raced different kinds of cars, you've won some races, and it makes you happy, Cheyenne. I can see it on your face. You like racing. It makes you happy.
It's in my blood.
It's
Every
in your
atom of body is in racing is in my blood.
It is. It is for sure. Yeah. So, do you think you're going to keep racing for a while?
For the rest of my life.
Good for you. Good for you. I like
Because
hearing that.
yes, for the rest of my life. And then also my goals in for the future in racing is to I would my dream race car to drive is in the Trans Am series, or NASCAR,
Yeah.
or dirt racing, or my favorite is I've been eyeing on the V8 supercars in Australia.
Oh, yeah. Those are fun. Those are fun. Well, you've got some big goals that you've set for yourself, haven't you? What is it going to take for you to
Yes,
get? What's it going to take for you to get there? What do you have to do to reach one of those goals?
I would like to win in Spec Miata, but then my mechanic Louis Rivera, uh and all of them had said to me, I had a photographer uh uh come up to my dad one day and said, and this is during Bandolero racing, and the photographer told my dad, hey John, is that your daughter over there? And he said, yes, she's exactly what we're looking for. She's very good for advertising.
Yep.
She's small, she speaks like a 10-year-old, she's autistic, and she's female. And so also I would love to advance up into the Trans Am series or NASCAR. For Because my goals in racing is to just finish up mid pack or even better. And if I do that, they're just they are very happy.
Yeah. Yeah. And it isn't always about winning the race. It's about getting better and having fun.
Oh, also, uh, to add on to that, I finished my best finish in Spec Miata, and which it was last month in December 14th and 15th at MSR Houston for the SCCA Chili Pepper Regionals. I finished 5th place out of
Wow.
9 cars.
That's awesome.
I'm like, what?
That is so, so cool, Cheyenne. So cool. I love your story and what you're doing. I just absolutely do. I just think and good and I want to give your dad a pat on the back because he's the one that really has encouraged you and helped you get to where you are as far as this and you know, he never gave up on you, did he?
No, never.
No, never. Uh-uh. So dad's a good dad. You've got a good dad there for sure.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Yes, you do.
He
Yeah.
does.
So is there a favorite or is there a track that you if you could pick any track to go to and do a race on, do you have a track that you'd really like to go to?
Well, there are several in Texas, or across the United States. I would love to go to Road America.
Oh, that's a good one. I've been there. That's a really fun place to go. Yeah. Good
Sure is.
choice. Sure is. That's a great track. Yeah. So Cheyenne, I know you're on social media. So
Yes.
how would people like what are you on? Are you on Facebook, Instagram? And how would people find your page so they can follow your racing?
I have a Facebook account and they can follow me, Cheyenne Fantuzzo,
Mhm.
just like
Your
on the
name?
bottom. Yeah, my name and I have a racing page called Cheyenne Fantuzzo Motorsports.
Okay. All right. So they
Yes.
can find you there. And do you post like after you've been to a race? Do you post like how you did and all that, or do you show your schedule where you're going to be? Um, is that a good place to find what you're up to?
Yes, that is a good place. And also, I do it all myself.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good because then it's authentic. It's coming from you and what you've done, and that's awesome, Cheyenne. It really is. So, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to share about yourself or your racing?
Yes, I would love to. And it really I don't know if you know this about me is like there's a on my racing when I was racing Bandoleros back in 2019 and 2020. Well, 2020 because of the COVID pandemic, I qualified for the national qualifiers back in 2020. And so I would have to go to Charlotte Motor Speedway to compete for the national championship in Bandoleros and due to the travel restrictions and all, we just go off based off of points, total points in our local tracks.
Okay.
So yeah, so on September 12th of 2020, I've officially became the 2020 Bandolero Summer Stampede, the local track and national champion.
Cheyenne, I didn't know that. Wow.
And then also, and to add on to that note, I've never have driven a stock car before, never,
No.
and totally different animal to drive. And it took me about a year to get used to it. And another thing is that in one of the races, I there was an 8-car field, and I was running in second, and I was involved in probably 6 wrecks. None of it had any damage my car, but it knocked the toe out. And so I was like,
Um,
I gotta get do this. So with so after 6 wrecks, I out of 8 cars, I still finished second.
you did really good, didn't you? That's called
Yes,
that's called perseverance. You did
yes.
not give up. Yeah. Oh, Cheyenne, you're so fun to talk to. I'm so glad we had a chance to do this tonight. I really am. Is there anything else you want to share about your racing or yourself? Did we cover it?
Yes, we covered it all.
Okay, awesome. Well, I want to thank you for taking time tonight. You came to us from your car because the electricity went out at your house right before we started to record. So you went to your car, you backed up the car until you had some good internet coverage, good phone service, and we went ahead and did the podcast, and we didn't stop. We didn't let that electricity stop us, did we?
Right.
Right.
That's another thing. Also, when things go wrong, that's we always can find ways to do it. Do we have a backup plan?
That's
and
right.
my backup was my phone.
Yeah, and it worked just fine. So that was a good backup plan for sure. Well, Cheyenne, you hang on after I end the recording. I just want to get a little information from you for my paperwork, and then we'll stay in touch. So you hang on, and I'll be back with you here in just a second.
Sounds good.
That's it for this episode of the Women's Motorsports Network podcast. We hope you've been inspired by the stories I shared today and feel more connected to the amazing community of women in motorsports. Remember, whether you're behind the wheel, in the pits, or cheering from the stands, your story matters. And together, we're driving change and celebrating every milestone. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who loves motorsports as much as you do. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and more incredible stories. So until next time, stay inspired, stay connected, and keep racing through life. This is the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, where every woman's story is worth celebrating.